Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Jeremy Blair.
And man, Brandon Sanderson's got a new book coming out. I'm never catching up, man. I'm never catching up. And I'm rain waiting. Like I said, that joke only lands because I needed to know he was coming out with a new book, which he is. For those of you who don't know, Brandon Sanderson is the Stephen King of science fiction fantasy books. And that motherfucker cranks out books like it's like he's got nothing better to do.
Well, you know what's funny is and it might just be because I'm not in this, I'm not deep into this culture or whatever. But the guy who writes Dungeon Crawler Carl, there's there's like 17 of them bitches, man. It's like, how old are these books?
I'm about to blow your mind.
Yeah.
He's only book number 8 is just about to come out.
Oh, okay. Still, that's a lot.
But he's got 2 more planned. Apparently, this was a 10-book series that he's planned.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I just heard about Dungeon Crawler Carl. I just heard about this, not too long ago.
I'm about to blow your mind even more. My work buddy Jake, he decided to start reading them. He's already on the 7th book. He started them last week.
What?
Yeah.
Are they that good?
Yeah, dude. He said they're really, really good. He was like, you can tell this was written by 1, a metalhead, and 2, a guy who really loves Dungeons and Dragons.
Cool.
But yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm already on the 7th book, and I'm trying to decide if I want to finish it because the 8th book doesn't come out till May. I'm like, dude, fuck it, bro. Just fucking finish that bitch already.
Finish that bitch, man. Yeah.
You've only got 2 weeks, you're fine.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But yeah. Also, he's also the one who's told me about Brandon Sanderson, and I only have 2 of Brandon Sanderson's books. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. I also kind of stole that joke from someone I saw on Instagram, where they're like, "All right, new book's coming out. All right, what's this first one?" Brandon said, "I'm never catching up."
That's funny.
And so I wanted to do a less dramatic way of doing that. But with that being said, Jeremy, you said you wanted to get something right off the top of the show.
Right off the top, okay? Besides talking about Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I don't know if I want to get that invested in that, but so thank God for Amazon Prime right now. Never thought I'd say that. But for a limited time, they have, oh my God, sorry, my daughter's banging on the door. For a limited hang on, sweetheart. So for a limited time, Amazon Prime has released the first season of From. Okay. Now, my dad has been watching From since the beginning. Okay. He sails the high seas. Okay. My father. To get his entertainment. I'm still afraid LimeWire, is going to ruin my family computer. So I don't really, I have a hard time with, that kind of stuff, but, because I'm scared. But so he doesn't have to subscribe to anything. He just does it. Right. And it's on MGM Plus. What even is that?
Yeah. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I need another one. This is ridiculous. I'm not doing that. But they did, Amazon Prime has it on there, I think, for 11 more days as of today. So, people listening to this in the future, I'm so sorry. But it is incredible. I finished the first season today. I already bought the next 2 seasons on Apple TV. Because it's so good. I would describe it, and not just because the main character was also in the show, but I would categorize it as Lost if Lost were a horror series, right? Because they're in this really ambiguously mysterious place. There's a lot of mysteries involved in this place, and they kind of have to figure out how to survive because, these monsters that look like people come out at night. And if you don't have these little talismans hanging on your window, they'll just come right in, right? And they'll rip you to shreds, right? It's so cool. I love how they figured out how to live there, and what I find most fascinating. Okay, this isn't a spoiler, but when people come into the town, okay, they can't leave, right? That's sort of the thing. Like, once you enter the town, you just like go on this road and you keep ending up where you were in the beginning of the edge of the town, right?
Okay.
However, people that come into the town came in from all over the United States. So they were driving in Indiana and wound up in this town. They were driving in Texas and wound up in this town. And they never left the state they were in. You know what I mean? That's what's so interesting. So, like they're like in this other plane of existence, and you know they're trying to find ways to get home. Some people have been there for years. You know, it's such a fucking cool show. I love it. I didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did, and it rocks, man. So those of you who are listening to this in the present, and still have time to catch it on Amazon Prime, if you so have such a service, check it out while you still can. I killed it in 3 days. The first season, I'm telling him, set. Tomorrow will be no exception. I'm starting season 2 immediately tomorrow. So, it rocks, man.
Yeah, I'd seen some clips and was really like intrigued, but yeah, then like I saw it was on MGM Plus, and I was like, yeah, fuck that, dude.
Forget it.
No, fuck you, dude.
And there's no DVD releases because I was just gonna get the DVDs or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, dude. I'll probably check it out maybe if I don't miss my window, but I've heard great things, and I heard someone. I want to say someone at work was talking about it the other day, and yeah, they were like,
season 4 just started.
Yeah, they were like, it's really good.
Yeah. Now I'm hoping they don't fumble with like they did with Lost, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, we'll see. So far so good, man.
Well, here, this might make you feel a little better, Hand. Let's look this up real quick.
Yeah, it's
the current season from their Rotten Tomato score, it's 100%. Right. Season 4.
Amazing.
Yeah, so from season 1 to season 2, it went down. So season 1 was 96, season 2 was 93, but then season 3 and 4 are both at 100%.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm just so excited, man. I like stuff like this. I like, you know, it feels like a mix of like Stephen King and like I said, Lost, or a little bit like The Leftovers, where, you know, there's supernatural forces, but it's very mysterious and you sort of have to figure it out yourself, and they're having to sort of catch up, right, with the environment that they're living in. It's awesome. I love things with rules too, you know?
Yeah, well, and of course, I'm pretty sure that actor,
he was in Lost.
Wasn't he also in Castle Rock? I
don't know if he was in Castle Rock. No, I don't think so.
No, am I confusing him with a different actor?
Yes, you are.
Well, he was in our end of season series a couple of seasons ago. He was Link in The Matrix.
That's right, he was. He's also in Oz. He's the narrator of Oz. He's also a character, but yeah, he's the omniscient sort of storyteller in the Oz universe. That show rocks too, man. Oz, I would say, since we're on the subject, is by far the scariest television show I've ever seen.
Really?
Because of its raw realism of the prison system, it's terrifying. You know? It's like, I'm not going to prison, that's insane. You know?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that was Andre Holland in Castle Rock.
That's right. Andre Holland, who's also in The Nick and Moonlight.
Oh. Well, with that being said, buddy, speaking of, you know, strange stories.
Sure.
What are we talking about this week?
Today, we are discussing Orson Welles' adaptation of Franz Kafka's The Trial.
So this was a first watch for me.
Cool.
And man, like I mentioned last week in our tease, which, hey, actually, everyone, thank you for actually listening to our Snow White episode. That was rad.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't contribute anything. So
I feel the same.
So. But I remember when Criterion announced that they were going to be they were adding this to the collection, and I remember reading their synopsis about it, and I was like, man, Orson Welles. I think we had just done Mank.
Okay.
So I really had Orson Welles on the brain, and I was like, man, you know what? Like, I want to check out some more Orson Welles movies. Definitely not Othello, but I read that, and then of course I read Anthony Perkins, and I was like, all right, like, cool. You saw it before me.
Yeah.
And you gave me hope because you were like, dude, that was rad.
Yeah.
And, to get this out of the way now, I really loved it.
Yeah.
Do I understand it? Absolutely not. But I really loved it. And hopefully I can contribute, because I was so confused. Like, I'll be honest, I watched it today. I kind of slacked off over the weekend and didn't watch it. And so I'm on my lunch, like sitting there, like, sorry, for those listening, head in my hands. And one of my coworkers were like, are you okay? I'm like, what is this movie? And they're like, well, what movie is it? I'm like, it's called The Trial. It's from 1963. I don't get this. But I was loving everything I was seeing at the same time. Yeah. Like, I was like, I don't understand what's happening, but the cinematography is great. The writing is great. I mean, Anthony Perkins, fantastic.
Yeah.
And, and at moments I was like, oh, I understand what's going on. And then something else would happen and I'd be like, no, I don't understand what's going on. Was that like it? Was that the same way for you when you first watched it?
I mean, kind of, because I didn't really read the synopsis, really. I just saw, as a sort of an offbeat crime thriller or mystery with Anthony Perkins, and I was like, okay, post-Psycho Anthony Perkins, let's go, And yeah, I was taken aback by how much they were leaning into the surrealism and the dream logic and all of that. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, people are really accepting the world that they're living in, and I really enjoy this. And then, of course, it ends, and I'm like, wow. And I do have to make an addendum for my tease. I'd completely forgotten Orson Welles was in it so much. Because I was like, yeah, I don't think he's in it really. And I was a liar, because he's absolutely in it. He's the advocate. But quick synopsis. I'm just going to do a very,
I was going to say good luck.
No, it's going to be super fast. Anthony Perkins plays Joseph K. Joseph K. wakes up one morning being charged with a crime, and that he is under arrest and he will be standing trial. He is, however, allowed to resume his normal life until he is needed elsewhere. Every once in a while, he's pulled every which way while living his normal life to deal with the aftermath of his criminal charges. After being completely ragdolled around by the criminal justice system of this world, he has finally had enough. He has fired his lawyer. He just wants it done, right? He goes to whomever, and once more pleads his innocence and says that he has done nothing wrong. He is not guilty. yet he is found guilty. He is taken out into a field and is supposed to be stabbed. However, he um, he sort of manhandles his way to where they just blow him up with dynamite. Um, that's the trial. Notice I didn't say what he was charged with because we don't know what he is charged with. Neither does he, and we never find out because that's not the point. That's not important. The point is that he is charged with a crime. Um, he is placed under arrest, and he can do nothing about it. Right? He is a slave to the bureaucracy of the criminal justice system. Okay. This is, of course, an exaggerated, surrealist interpretation of the criminal justice system and its bureaucracy. Some have said that, of course, it is a satire and an indictment on the criminal justice system, right? Some have said that it is an allegory for World War II and the Jewish population. You could even say that maybe during this time you could argue that it is also the African American experience. And but some okay. I will say up top that Orson Welles shot this movie with the assumption that Kate is guilty of a crime. Okay. Anthony Perkins spoke to Orson Welles during shooting, and he was like, "Hey, man, like, I think I should really play it like this because, like, as where we're going, it's sort of like he's sort of harboring some sort of guilt." And Orson Welles goes, "He is guilty." And Anthony Perkins is like, "I don't think so." that's crazy. So take that however you will. Because I choose to believe he isn't guilty of anything besides existing, which in and of itself can be its own philosophical dilemma. Existing could be seen as, you exist, therefore you are perhaps negatively affecting society and the people around you or the world itself. But anyway, that's digressing.
Well, I will say, just to kind of piggyback on that, just for a quick second, it does seem like a lot of his decisions during the first few, first 10, 15 minutes, his existing does, like, always comes with some sort of, like, repercussion.
That's true.
He tells his neighbor, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name, that the police came and looked through her room, and so she moves out. And in a way, the woman that she sends to collect her things, blames Joseph directly. So many people would just blame him directly. Now, there are times, I'll be honest, he did come across as a bit of an asshole, but also, I don't know, that I feel like that just makes a little bit more sense. He's just existing in the world.
Yeah.
And the world just doesn't seem to like him.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of different interpretations. I think what we also need to take into account is Kafka did not finish this novel. It is unfinished. And I think it was his brother-in-law that he had asked to burn it upon his death because it's not done. He didn't want it out, and they did not grant that wish. They went ahead and published it anyway. So there are moments that, and I think that sort of plays into this sort of disconnected, delirious surrealism, right? Because some things don't really connect, and it sort of does feel all over the place at times, in a good way, in my opinion, because I like that in the book, for instance, this takes place over a year. Okay. And we sort of get a hint of that when he sees his cousin the second time, and she says, "Hey, my dad wants to know what's going on. He hasn't heard anything in a long time." But just a couple of scenes earlier, they were talking and they were at the advocate's office, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, wait, am I supposed to believe now that so much time has passed between these things, even though the movie is presenting it as sort of flowing in linear time in like one day? I found that very
Mm-hmm.
fascinating, and disorienting, um, and I, sort of taken aback. It's like, well, but that doesn't make sense because he just saw his uncle, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, in the book, it takes place over a year. So he wakes up on his 30th birthday under arrest, and he is sentenced and given the final verdict, aka being stabbed to death, um, on the eve of his 31st birthday. Um, in the book, he is stabbed to death. Um, Also in the book, he's a bank manager. In this one, I kind of like that it was sort of ambiguous what he did. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like the layout of the business was so bizarre, with all of those people on typewriters, and his office is just an elevated platform. Like he
Yeah.
like there's no walls, you know? Um I found that very fascinating as well. Um I loved a lot of the choices here. Do I agree with Orson Welles? No. I don't. I think he should have maybe filmed it with the intention that he might be guilty, but let's go ahead and like we've seen in other films, like let's do different takes, you know, and let's
Mm-hmm.
just swap in and out of them, um, guilty and not guilty, to keep it as ambiguous as possible. I think he was sort of the narrow-minded, sort of like he is guilty sort of way. Um, but man, does he know how to film surrealism? Because this is amazing. The set design is incredible. Um, like I know this is toward the end of the film, but when he is at the artist place where all the kids are, so far that's already so bizarre. And these kids are just like there's no reason why they should be so obsessed with this artist, um and like he's painting portraits for these very powerful judges in the justice system. But then he exits the back of this room, and he's back in the Justice Department building. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he, like I loved that. Um, but I love that stuff anyway, right?
Yeah.
Um,
No, I was gonna, yeah, I agree with that. That, it's interesting, that I haven't seen a ton of Orson Welles' films, but it is interesting that, you know, I feel like maybe you can correct me that this is his most surreal,
that I've seen,
and
yes, absolutely. I can't speak
he
to his other stuff.
nails
I
it.
haven't. So
Yeah. Uh but yeah, and he just nails it, Like I I don't know, man. Like it it I feel like it's a type of surrealism that could be a good intro for people like trying to get comfortable with surrealism.
yeah, I think so. Like it fits so well with the story that he's telling, because like you want to be disoriented, you want to be confused for this to work, because he's confused. He doesn't know what's going on. Um and it's sort of like the system is built that way. And I think that's why a lot of people read this as an indictment on the criminal justice system to begin with, not only because Franz Kafka was a lawyer to begin with, um,
Mhm.
and so he could really dive into that aspect of criminal justice, but also it's sort of like it's such an overwhelming system that's being put in place where you do feel like you are not in control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So much of it is out of your hands. Like, once you are put under arrest for a crime, no matter what it is, you no longer have a lot of authority, right? You are now, you now have to succumb to the will of the system that is being put in place. This is a scenario where the system is where you have absolutely no control and you have no say in any of it, really,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to make it even worse, you could just go about your day, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that makes it so much worse.
Yeah. Especially because, at the drop of a hat, they'll come and get you and be like, all right, you need to report, or, you know, they're going to kill you.
Yeah,
Just sort of like, yeah, on a whim. Um, which I think makes it that much scarier, that like you don't know what's going to happen or when it's going to happen,
right.
you know?
Right, you don't know how long it's going to take. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you don't know when you're going to be asked to do anything. Then he sees people like in that building. He sees people waiting for their judgment, right? The accused, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for some reason, he doesn't have to sit there and wait. Um, and he makes sure that he doesn't stick around long enough to, to be forced to do so. Um, but even when he gives that speech, um, at that makeshift courtroom,
Mm-hmm.
um, it is a very rousing speech, and it does, speak to his insistence on his innocence, right? Um, and of course, the unfairness of the system and the position he's being put in, and all of that, and it makes no difference, right? The
Yeah.
crowd, I'm going to call them a crowd or an audience, um, they're cheering for the system. They are in favor of the judges, the lawyers, the advocates, um, and not of this man who's being forced to take part in this confusing, overwhelming situation, um, which I loved. Again, it's like I can't speak enough to the visual language of this film, the pacing,
Mm-hmm.
the transition from scene to scenes, um, the scenes themselves. I mean, listen, the opening to this movie. Okay, I'm not talking about the parable. We'll talk about that in a minute. But when the men enter Kay's room, it's like a oneer for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We don't cut away for a while, so like the dialogue is so lightning fast and it's punchy and it's confusing, yet it's being accepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, it doesn't make sense what's happening. Which is why Wells at the beginning says this movie has the logic of a dream. It's dreamlike. To where, yes, it doesn't make sense if you think about it, but when you're in it, you accept it, and that's what's going on. And I could watch that scene 100 times. Just Anthony Perkins talking to this guy, going back and forth, fumbling over his words, having a misunderstanding, um, talking to a different person, talking to his landlady. And then, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All the while him getting dressed. I mean, he's doing a lot as an actor. Um, like, it's impressive.
Yeah, agreed, dude. I'm gonna say something probably pretty controversial. I have never actually seen Psycho from start to finish.
Interesting.
Of
That
course,
that is
I
controversial.
I have seen scenes and I've seen analysis of Psycho.
We've never done
So
Psycho.
we haven't done Psycho, no.
Oh, okay.
Um, uh, but um, I I've always wanted to really see, Anthony Perkins, um, again, like actually act. Like, of course, like I said, I've seen scenes from Psycho, but yeah, it's interesting how the opening of the movie, he does almost seem like he is guilty of something. Like fumbling over his words. Because that's when I started to think. I'm like, oh, he actually did do something. Especially because of how the supposed police are treating him.
Mhm.
They're treating him as a sorry, as a suspect. And it was just, I was sold immediately. That
Yeah.
was like, all right, yeah, he did something, and we're gonna figure out what he did. And I was very surprised that we never figured out what he did.
No.
But yeah, no, this opening just gets you hooked almost immediately.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Agreed. It's tremendous. This opening. And I guess now we can talk about the parable. It's also written by Kafka. It's a Kafka parable. The Men Before the Law. I would say it's, for me anyway, for my very shallow knowledge um of law or its history or whatever. um I I felt like, even watching it again, I was like, I kind of still don't get it. Like, the parable is confusing to me, but maybe we can talk about it for a minute and maybe I'll figure it out. Because it's a man who wants to be let into um a door that leads to the law, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a guard there. The guard says nope. Um, and so the man waits until his old age. He realizes that he's never asked the guard why there has never been anyone else to ask to be let in. The guard says, well, this door was only ever meant for you, and now it's going to close. And that's it. And he dies, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like I think I'm supposed to interpret that as the law meaning justice, perhaps, um, or being treated fairly and orderly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's sort of like saying, like, you don't have control over that treatment. Or you could say that you shouldn't wait for you to be given the opportunity to be treated fairly or orderly or lawfully.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it'll never happen. That you should fight for it. But I'm not sure. I find it very confusing. the parable.
So do I was kind of hoping that maybe it would come up in some way. I mean, in a way it did in the film,
Mhm.
but I was kind of hoping that, like, maybe we would get an explanation through the film on, like, what it meant. And yeah, I was like, I don't understand what this has to do with anything. The only thing I can think of right now is kind of the saying, the law waits for no one
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. But
Yep.
I don't feel like that matches anything.
Again, yeah, I mean it's a tough one for me anyway. I wasn't really sure what to make of it. I liked it. Um, it was very foreboding and very sad, and um, really did put the tone in for the rest of the movie. Um, I was kind of excited it came back up, at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, the thing about Kafka I really like, I don't know if you're familiar with other Kafka works.
I'm not.
One of them, and probably the most famous, is Metamorphosis. Um, and it's so interesting because he finds ways to tell an interesting story about a very um, a very strong human emotion or a human
Okay.
experience. Okay, but he is wrapping it in avant-garde surrealist imagery and storytelling motifs. For instance, Metamorphosis. It's a very short. I think it's like a novella. I think it's very short. Um, it's about a man who one day he wakes up and he is an insect. He's a giant insect. Um,
Okay.
and his family is knocking on the door, and he doesn't want to let them in. He doesn't want them to see because he's freaking out. That he is this bug. And when they finally knock down the door, and he finally is shown to be this bug, they're not freaked out that he's a bug. They're upset because now he can no longer go to work, he can no longer do things for them, he can no longer provide services that they use him for. Okay? And
Okay.
it's really just about, how people will have their self-worth be indicated by what they can do for others, right? And
Hmm.
how other people use these people um, to their benefit, use and abuse um, them basically just for their services, not for who they are as a person, right? Um,
Hmm.
but again, it's a story about a guy who turns into an insect. Um, and by the way, another wish that was stomped on and tossed in the trash was he had asked for all book covers of the Metamorphosis to not have an insect on the cover. And I think I've only ever seen Metamorphosis with an insect on the cover. Like
Hmm.
people just, I don't know what it is about people just like not doing
Just
what he wants, Um,
yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, it's sort of bullshit, right? Um, but I hate to say that I think it's unfinishedness with the trial sort of like it it's advantageous to the story. Um, it being so disjointed and um, it doesn't flow, right? At least probably not in the way that he wanted.
Hmm.
Um, that it does sort of seem like there are non sequiturs and whatever. At least in the film adaptation, I have not. I started the book and then I got distracted.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how that went.
Yeah,
Uh,
got distracted. So that happens. Although
so
I did learn a lot about the translation um, aspect of the book because it's written in German. He's German, um, and so with the translation to English, I learned a lot about you know where it's different, why that matters, and how it affects how you understand the story. That was cool. Um, but that has nothing to do with the movie. I'm just saying.
yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, so speaking of non sequiturs, so I just wanted to bring this up. how is it that he keeps having all these women like fall over him? You
Yeah,
know,
I thought about
I
that.
don't.
I'm not sure. I know his relationship with women is significant, and I don't really understand it, right? Um, Even though I think that he wants to have some sort of relationship, either friendly or otherwise, with Burstner,
Mhm.
who's the exotic dancer, whatever she is, um,
Yeah,
his neighbor. Um, but the what is her name? Lenny.
Lenny. Yeah,
Lenny, yeah, the advocate's assistant, um,
assistant, nurse,
nurse,
maid,
caretaker. Um,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, that was interesting. And of course, like the advocate explains it later that she is attracted to the accused. Um, there was something about a man being accused of a crime, and she's very attracted to that, even that gross guy,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, who it uh seems only wants the advocate's help, right? Um,
Hmm.
and the advocate doesn't want anything to do with him, right? Whereas it's the opposite for Kay. Kay wants nothing to do with the advocate, and the advocate keeps wanting to help him with his case. And it's alluded to that it's very interesting and that he's very well informed about the case, and even before he met Kay, um, and that he finds it very fascinating, the whole thing, and so he really wants to be a part of it. Um, and I mean, okay, the advocate's office, house, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I couldn't get enough of it, right?
Yeah.
Because like on our way to it, like it's like we just completely changed environments, right? It seems like to me it seemed like there's no ceiling, but there kind of is. Um,
Hmm.
there's a thunderstorm happening when they walked in. There wasn't a thunderstorm happening when they walked into the building. Um, it just seems like another world, another plane of existence. Um, which can be said with pretty much anywhere K goes. Um, to me, it seems like purposefully artificial, um, like in Night of the Hunter or Eraserhead, for instance.
Okay. Hmm.
It also reminds me of the Joel Schumacher Batman movies. It feels like there's a ceiling,
Mm.
when you're outside,
Hmm.
right? It does seem that way whenever he's going around. It also reminded me, like, um, when that woman is dragging the trunk outside,
Yeah.
it reminded me so much of Roy Anderson, like Songs from the Second Floor, right?
Yep.
Because it doesn't feel like this environment and this action, they don't mix. Like you wouldn't be dragging it like on the dirt, like on the ground like that, and where is she even going? You know?
Yeah.
Like there's a better way to do this, and there's gotta be a better route to wherever she's going. Um yeah.
No, you're right. And again, I think that's, kind of what we've been talking about with the surrealism is that um you know, everyone just accepts everything, like it accepts, Kay accepts the fact that this lady with a bum leg is just carrying, like pulling this very obvious heavy trunk. um he just accepts that, when he visits the advocate, that apparently the weather has not only changed when they enter but changed when they leave. I mean, it is raining when he leaves, but it's not raining for very long. uh and again, I think that speaks to all the surrealist elements of the film. Which, yeah, again, if I haven't said it enough already, I was really sold on everything. I was like, I don't know what's happening,
Yeah.
Like, I, when it started to become apparent that we were never going to learn about Kay's crime, I was like, okay, that's perfectly fine. I'm totally on board with that. But I need to understand this world, and this is kind of like the same thing I've talked about with Lynch. Like I don't want to know the answer. I know I can figure it out. Just give me something. And whereas Lynch will sometimes, give the audience a bone, I really felt like Orson Welles was like, yeah, we're not doing that. Because I really felt like I wasn't getting anything to help me with this world at all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with a few minor differences, it's pretty close to the book. So it's like Kafka doesn't want to give you anything either. He just wants to illustrate a point, and that point is up for interpretation. And I like to think that it is an indictment on the criminal justice system and your lack of control when you're in it. It can be disorienting and scary and confusing and not make any sense. Sometimes on purpose. The other stuff, like I can see interpretations of the Jewish experience, the African American experience. I also think that what helped the film a lot in terms of just putting it out of a world we're familiar with is filming it in Europe. That helps a bunch because I'm already not able to hold on to identifiable landmarks because I don't live there. I'm not from there. So I don't, I think West Germany, France, Italy, I think he filmed in all those places. And I mean, if I were, a learned person, I might have recognized some of those landmarks.
Well, this excuse me, kind of goes back to, our enemy episode of not really knowing where we're at.
Right.
And, being disoriented. I had a suspicion. I meant to look it up after I finished the movie. I had a suspicion that this was filmed in Europe. But then I didn't look it up.
Yeah, it says
and I was just like,
France, Italy, West Germany. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, probably should have looked it up, but I had a suspicion. I was like, I'm sure with where Orson Welles was kind of headed in his career, because he started primarily filming in the UK, right?
I think so.
Around this time.
It's a good
I'm pretty sure most of the films he was doing by this time in his career were filmed in the UK.
Oh, I'm sure that's true. I don't know.
But yeah. No, because I also was like, I don't know where we are. And I think that also adds to the surrealism that the audience doesn't even know really what's going on. We're just as disoriented as Kay is.
Right.
Yeah. But again, in case I haven't made it clear, I still really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Because the whole time I was like, man, like the dialogue is so sharp. The cinematography is amazing. The sets are great. The acting is amazing. Like, clearly, Orson, there's a reason why he said this is his best movie that he's ever made. I could see it. Now maybe this might be a controversial statement. I do feel like Citizen Kane is the better film, mainly just because you can understand that movie. but I didn't hate this movie at all, and it makes me actually even more excited to buy the Criterion, and maybe rewatching it, I can decipher something.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know, I don't think I'll be able to. I don't think that was the point, was to decipher the movie, but who knows? You know.
Yeah, I almost wish that they had left the original ending of him being stabbed to death. But Orson, again, he was of the mind that this could be an allegory of the Jewish experience during World War II, and he didn't feel like that was appropriate. And so he blew him up instead. I don't know what, I don't know. I think it's less personal, right? It's I don't know. It's sort of like they're so sick of him that they'll just do anything to get rid of him. Instead of it being like a unofficial verdict of death, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I do not know either, man. And I would like to know. That'd be cool, but I mean, unless we have, like a Ouija board to commune with Orson, I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Well, that being said, buddy, are you ready to wrap up?
Yeah. I mean, this movie's rad. If you have the chance, watch it. It's really good.
Yeah, again, blown away by everything. It makes me even more excited to own a copy. I just wish I understood the story more. And again, maybe I will. Maybe a rewatch will help me learn a little bit more.
Yeah. That is very possible.
Well, buddy, with that being said, are you ready to hear about what we're going to talk about next week?
Yeah.
Because I am actually going to give you an option.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 3 options.
3. Okay.
3. Option 1 is the one that I had planned next.
Mm-hmm.
Option 2 is one that was going to be planned in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then option 3 is one I told Ashley I think I'm going to throw in as a curveball. So I will let you choose. Option 1, again, the one that I actually planned for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Option 2, the one that was supposed to be in 2 weeks, or the curveball.
That's interesting. Let's do. Let's do the curveball.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So everyone, if anyone's forgotten, my list of films this season, I have not told Jeremy what they are. There is a theme to them. You've had some good guesses.
Nice.
Yeah, you've had a lot of good guesses. You're getting close, but you're just not there yet.
Yeah.
And to throw you a curveball, I'm gonna throw in. We're gonna do a movie that is not on my list, but it kind of bounces off of one of your guesses.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit again because it's a curveball.
Yeah.
So next week, and I worry you're gonna be really mad at me, but it's too late. You've already picked it.
I've already picked it.
Next week, we are going to be discussing the 2023, so fairly recent movie.
No.
I don't know how to call it, but a supernatural comedy horror. We are discussing Haunted Mansion next week.
Okay.
Not the Haunted Mansion,
not the Eddie Murphy, right?
Not the Eddie Murphy version. Haunted Mansion with Lakeith Stanfield, Owen Wilson, Tiffany Haddish, Danny DeVito, Rosario Dawson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jared Leto.
I'm gonna get so drunk this time.
You know, man, I think we've said it, or at least I've said it on the show before. Ashley and I love A Haunted Mansion. It truly is, in my opinion, and I know this is controversial with a lot of the Disney adults out there, it's one of the best rides. Like, it's so much fun. It's so whimsical. I love that the lore of the ride itself comes from fans, but also even cast members like adding it. I would highly recommend everyone watch the episode Over the Haunted Mansion on the show Behind the Attraction on Disney Plus, because it's really cool to learn how it was initially supposed to be like a walkthrough attraction and then developed into what it is now. And the reason why we're not doing the Eddie Murphy version is because, plain and simple, that version is awful. I'm sorry. Look, okay. I love Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
But like I remember seeing that movie in theaters as a kid when it first came out, and I liked it. As I got older, I rewatched it and was like, "Oh man, this is bad. This is really bad."
I have a few questions.
Okay.
One, what was my second choice? I almost did it, and I was like, let's just do the other one. Is the one that we're doing in 2 weeks? What was it?
The 1973 Robin Hood.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna guess again.
Okay.
Because it still fits with your theme, yes? The Haunted Mansion fits with your theme? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So far, let's recap. So far, we've had Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Okay?
Yeah.
We've had 20,000 Leagues.
Uh-huh.
Snow White. What was the other one?
That was it.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
And then now Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion.
I will say the biggest curveball was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but I bent my rules just a little bit because I really wanted to talk about Who Framed Roger.
No, that makes sense.
But it still works with my theme.
Okay. Okay. Let me think. Okay. Well, because I've already guessed that it is something to do with, and I know this is wrong. I think my best guess and my closest guess, I think, was each of these films is at least referenced at Disney World Park, right? Like at the park of Disney, right? Because I think there's still a 20,000 Leagues something over
there. Not at World as much anymore, but Land and Disneyland Paris.
Oh, okay. I forgot about the other ones. Okay. Golly. And I know that my problem is that I'm overthinking it. My problem is that I'm thinking that it is very niche, very specific link that threads all these things together. Besides that, a lot of them, well, at least so far, all of them have had Disney. But I mean, Disney is part of it. I know that. Wait. No. No, of course not. That would make sense. I'm gonna say these are all films. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you want me to tell you?
No, because I'm gonna get it.
I believe in you.
But
Like I said,
but on this day, I don't have a guess because I need to mull it over some more. And listening to me do that is not good podcasting. So that's okay. Okay, so we're doing Haunted Mansion. Fuck. Okay, that's fine.
Look, back to the tease for next week. Like, I will be honest, this version of the Haunted Mansion, actually, I really enjoyed, and I think could lead to really a really good conversation. If we did the Eddie Murphy version, I think it would have just been, not even an hour of us just dumping on the movie. With this version, I feel like we could actually have a pretty decent conversation. And then I can, kind of nerd out a little bit about the lore that I learned of the ride, which is crazy because some of the lore shows up in the movie.
Okay.
Which is really cool. But yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, everyone. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode on the trial, and we'll see you next week for Haunted Mansion.